All right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Another beautiful spring day. Very welcoming. I'd like to bring the special meeting of the Kane County Executive Committee to order, please. It is Wednesday, May 29th, 2024, and it's about 1:02. So, clerk, could you please call the roll?
Allen. Bates.
Bates here.
Berman. Ford.
Comes here.
Caius.
Vice President.
Kenyon.
Here.
Lewis. Linder.
Linder present online.
Molina.
Molina present remotely.
Sanchez present. in person.
Strathman.
I'm here.
Is
Church is present.
Tepe.
Deppie here.
Huron. We have an in-person quorum, and Miss Allen, I do see you signed online.
Thanks. Sorry to be late.
Oh, welcome, Miss Allen. So I would ask if Miss Allen and Miss Molina and Mr. Linder can be,
Mr. Sanchez, I think.
Mr. Sanchez
Yeah.
is
Oh,
right
he's
there.
there,
He's
sorry.
right there.
Somebody else I thought.
Would be Miss Allen and Mr. Linder, because of health reasons, permission. And then for Miss Lewis is not here. Mr. Davos is not here, and Miss Molina, for work. Permission to allow them in? Okay, very
Aye.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Davos, did I hear your voice? Are you here? And Mr. Tarver, welcome. I see you online listening. Very nice. Welcome. So, Mr. Tepe, please lead us in the pledge today. If you're so kind.
To the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you know that I'm going to be recusing myself now. I'm going to be leaving just a second for the next, this meeting and the next meeting. I know that there has been consideration and thought that I may be influencing anybody's vote or consideration is going forward. And the position that I'm currently seated in, and I am blessed to be having this position, is under consideration. So I thought it would be best to walk away. And I would like to turn this meeting over to my vice chair, Mr. Tepe, who will do an exceptionally good job leading you in your discussion for the next two meetings. So I wish you all Godspeed, good luck, make good decisions going forward. And thank you again for all of your service.
There you go.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Okay, I'm sorry, which ones are on? Okay, it looks like everybody is on agenda for comments. I'd like to first call up Kathy Ann Delarche. Kathy Ann here. She online? Okay. Why is? Oh, okay. Kathy Flesberg. That close to being right?
Correct. You got it. Most people say please. Hi, everyone, again. I'm here to talk about the salary increase. My gosh. Where do I start? You know, I want to say this at all the meetings when I talk to you guys about the budget and everything, you know, if you guys would just think of this as your company, you wouldn't be giving out 20, 25%, 33% raises. I agree that everybody needs a raise. I mean, you guys haven't gotten one since 2006, and you guys have other jobs. I just don't understand. I really don't understand. In this economy, with the spending that's been going on and the budget problems that there are, I just told you guys how you guys aren't even being made aware of all the checks that are being put through. And I confirmed that. You know, if it was your company, you would not be giving out these increases, even if it was a job well done. Cost of living this year is 3.7%. You can't really compare to other counties because everybody takes on different tasks. Everybody knew what the salaries were when they ran for the position. So I would think that they would be grateful for a 5% increase. Why are we going 20, 25, and 33%? I don't understand. You've never lost someone because they were unhappy with their money. I mean, you guys aren't even leaving, and you guys only get 25,000. We just talked about setting up a special meeting for cuts because everyone knows that there's serious problems. Mr. Tepe, I think, was the one that brought up getting rid of people as we're hiring consultants, and we have all, it's just crazy. You know, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't know why you have to go so high. I mean, and then Corinne to be in the meeting last month was just wrong. I'm shocked that these people, I don't know how many are up for office. I know Corinne is. I'm shocked that she would even want this because it's not a good look for her to be getting such an increase on an election year. I guess that's all I have to say. I beg of you guys, I really do. This is our money. I do agree maybe everybody needs an increase, but not 20 to 33%. That's just insane. Thanks.
Bettig. Michelle Bettig.
Hi, Michelle Bettig. Don't want to sound like a broken record every time I come up here, but I hope a few of you or all of you have walked downtown Geneva, spoke to some of the shop owners and restaurant owners, and see how much people are struggling to keep their doors open. I've now went to 3 or 4 shops, and I plan on doing more. But honestly, people are struggling so much, even in this town that's a little bit more upscale, a little bit more wealthier than some of the towns in this Kane County. You know, obviously, I hope too you guys had a chance to look at the comparability website and the Stats America website, which gives all 3,100 counties incomes and income averages. Our average, I know we're not just comparing, hopefully to DuPage, Well, Lake. I hope we're comparing to national incomes. I'm not throwing one position under the bus. 88,000 that the coroner is making. You know, he's up 50% from some of the other corners with a population of 749,000. Anyways, hopefully you guys had a chance to look at that website because we're pretty much on base of on a national average, actually higher. You know, Miss Molina gave a really good example of why a lot of people are doing this, and it's to serve the constituents. Every single position that's up for election, some had a primary and everyone has a party running against them or somebody running against them. So people want this job. They're happy with the income. I do know a few of them personally, and actually they were thrilled. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but you know, the people cannot find a job. People are being laid off. Businesses are struggling. So I think these incomes are fairly decent, you know, again, 35% increase for the chair position, whether it's Lance Bell who's running against Corrine. It depends. It doesn't matter to me. I think that, you know, this job is running a department. The treasurer or the auditor, they're running departments. You know, the jobs aren't as what they appear. They do have or certain parties have more than one job. This is an additional job for them, and they also know what they are going into. One of the things that bothers me the most is absorbing the cost. When the question was asked, do we have the money to absorb the cost? And everyone kind of laughed. This committee was so willy-nilly. It was embarrassing. I mentioned that at the last meeting. There was no rhyme or reason for the meeting. There was no research done. It just was based on emotions and feelings. We all have emotions and feelings. We all like certain people. We like to compensate our employees. I'm not against any of that. But when you're talking about running out of money in 2027, it comes across as super willy-nilly and super just, you know, doing things out of complete emotions, or, you know, maybe paying people that you like. I don't know. Anyways, please take into consideration the IMRF, which is a percentage of the increase that you'll be paying. Also, employment taxes, got to figure at least about 10% increase in the additional salaries. So it's not just the or the salary increase, it's also the benefits and the employer taxes and the IMRF taxes as well. I do think it was a good idea to go to these lobbyists. All of these positions are part of associations that lobby for these positions that can help offset the cost through the state of Illinois, and not putting this on the board who isn't really qualified to know what the coroner is doing, or who isn't qualified to determine the salary increase, but to take it out of our general funds without any expertise or any reference to these lobby or the associations. I don't think that's right either. Thank you.
Mark Avalar.
Good afternoon. Mark Avelar, Algonquin, Illinois. I've been a Kane County resident for nearly 30 years. I'm speaking to the executive committee to ask all of y'all to really pause and ask yourself what you're about to do. I listened online to in tape delay to the ad hoc committee. I was pleased to see the village president of my hometown, Debbie Sosine, was a member of that committee. And what's being proposed here is just not in keeping with reality. When was the last time county employees had this kind of a raise? I'm talking about the county employees, the rank and file, whether union or non-union. And yet I see the county board chair's salary jumping to $130K to $142K over a 4-year period, starting with the next term, when there's been so much talk about a county administrator being hired to handle the day-to-day as a professional, which many people, both inside and outside the county, knows you need. You can't have county board meetings going 6 hours every month, let alone committee meetings. And an administrator is definitely a way to ensure that you keep solely the professionalism to ensure that the county's business is done. And yet, if you're going to go with probably a $250,000 a year salary for an administrator for a county this size, and I see $130,000 for the county board chair, that's duplicative service. I strongly ask and recommend this executive committee to amend the resolution and cap the county board chair's salary at $110,000 a year. How did I get that number? Well, I compared McHenry County and its population to Kane County and its population. McHenry County has a county administrator, and applying some guerrilla math to population differences, it came up to $110K. Now, believe it or not, 28 years ago, the elected supervisor of Dundee Township voluntarily and willfully cut his salary in half. and converted his position to a part-time position. He had to ensure that the township operations could be funded, and he didn't want his salary to get in the way. You have it in your power as this executive committee to apply the amendment, particularly to the county board chair's salary, and cap it at 110,000 over the entire 4 years, knowing you're going to bring a county administrator in and administer this county. Just about all the direct reports that the county board chair has will go to the county administrator, as it should be in a county this size here in the 2020s. So I asked this county executive committee to consider amending the resolution, cap the county board chair's salary at, also was remember, your employees haven't seen a significant raise in years. Set an example among yourselves, among elected leaders, and do the right thing. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Vella? All I have.
Was there an Anthony Cantella?
Catella.
I can't read it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, Catella. Okay.
Catella,
Sorry.
that's right. That's okay. Well, guess what my income is? Absolutely nothing. I'm unemployed. That's why I'm running for office. I'm not going to campaign here. I'm an historian. I read history, and I think I can use an historical example to help us solve this problem. It was back in 1962, April 1962, when the United States Steel executive, Mr. Roger Blau, decided to increase steel prices by some $6 a ton. And that didn't set well with President Kennedy, who was trying to balance a budget for 62, and the economy was on a tailspin back then. And well, anyway, the president of the United States didn't think that was fair or right for the largest company in the United States to raise steel prices by $6 a ton because it would have a deleterious effect on the nation's economy. And he gave a statement about that in his press conference on the later in that time period. So what we're trying to do here as citizens, think of us as President Kennedy, asking you to consider your price increase and the deleterious effect it will have on the county's economy. So consider what you would like to do for the county and not what the county really wouldn't want to do for you. It's public service. Thank you.
You. And that concludes all the public comments. All right, what I'd like to do now, thank you all, is put on a brief presentation of the special committee that had been formed to look at salaries for the elected officials and what their recommendations were. As you can see on the screen, the timeline was May 10th, the committee met. May 15th, the ad hoc board committee met. May 29th is today's meeting. Okay. Come on, computer. There we go. In 2022, a committee met and dealt with the salaries for the sheriff, treasurer, county clerk, and county board members. And in 2024, the committee met and dealt with the circuit clerk, recorder, auditor, coroner, county board chair, and the county board members. And state's attorney, although up for election, that salary is controlled by the state. So in 2022, the consensus and what happened was that the sheriff's compensation was increased to $160,000 with a 2% increase for the next 3 years. Much of that is paid for and now controlled by the state. For the treasurer and county clerk, their compensation was increased to $105,000 with a 2% increase for the next 3 years. The county board members, the decision was for that to remain at $25,000. Okay. So in this year, the offices that are up are the circuit clerk, recorder, auditor, coroner, county board chair, and the board members. This is showing what those positions are paid if appropriate in the surrounding counties. And kind of interesting to note is that all 3 of the other counties have an administrator. Kane does not. The consensus of the committee was that the circuit clerk, recorder, auditor, and coroner all be increased to 110,000 plus a 3% increase for the 3 following years. That the county board chair be increased to 130 plus 3%. And that the board members be increased to $30,000, but that be effective on December 1, 2026. So it could apply to the entire board. So that was the want of the committee. So we have an ordinance. May I have a second to discuss the ordinance?
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Burgess seconds.
Burgess seconds. Mr. Kenyon.
I'd like to amend it and separate the elected people from the county board and from the county chairman. We would consider them all separately, so we don't get bogged down.
Okay, what, again, your amendment is to,
Just consider the electeds, other than the chairman, separately from the county board and the chairman. So we'd have 3 considerations, any raises.
so you want a consideration.
I would second that.
8 seconds.
Surges seconds.
So we're exact here. The motion is that we vote on the circuit clerk, recorder, auditor, and coroner as one group.
Yes.
And the county board chair is another group.
And that
and
would
the
be
board
another group.
members is a
Okay.
third group.
Been motioned and seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Mr.
Surges.
Surges.
Rather than vote on those separately, I would like to look at those and simply strike the section regarding the county board, which is item F, strike the salary for the chairman, which is item E, and strike the second paragraph where it outlines who is included, and just strike the chairman from the second paragraph.
That's a separate amendment, so.
It's for discussion. I really don't know how to move forward with that. I think what Mr. Kenyon and I are proposing are virtually the same with 2 different paths.
You would have to, you can't amend when there's an amendment proposed and pending,
Okay.
but you could make that amendment at a subsequent point.
Just point of order, couldn't the motion and seconder of the amendment
They could
agree
do
to that
yes.
change
They could agree to that.
if
change.
they so choose?
Okay. We can do the change.
As the seconder, I am also amenable to that change.
I would like
Biased.
I would like a repetition of what he just said. So I know I'm.
So we
sure
are
I understand.
striking under paragraph 2,
Of which page are we on? We're on.
amending section 2-73 salaries elected officials.
All right,
Paragraph 2 goes on to say county, interest of the counties, the salaries for the auditor, clerk, coroner, recorder. I would end there and strike chairman. Then I would advance to page 2, I believe, item E and item F. to strike those in their entirety.
To go into another resolution?
My motion is to strike them entirely. If you would like to bring them up separately later, you can do that, but that is just to strike them from this. So Mavis, what we would be doing is taking care of the electeds.
All right, okay.
Mr. Chair Gums,
Ms. Gumbs?
just for clarification, so the amendment would eliminate the consideration of the chair and the board altogether.
That is correct,
But we can bring them back
but you can bring them back.
in the
It
follow-up.
just moves them from the original document.
I won't support that.
I'm sorry.
Why?
I would support, now Gums here again, I would support consideration of all three separately, but not that.
But that's what this does.
Uh,
It pulls this, so this is just consideration one. And then you can motion for consideration 2 and 3.
Would,
It
would,
just removes it from this all omnibus, if you
hold
will.
on a moment, okay? We'll ask council here. If they
And-
are removed,
Mr. Chair, point of order, this came from the state's attorney's office, so I don't know which state's attorney you would like to.
he's closer.
There you go. But if he would like the one from this state's attorney, that's okay with me.
All right. The amendment proposed as revised by Mr. Kenyon and Mr. Surges would, as indicated, strike the language indicated. If that is if it fails, then you still have all three together. If it succeeds, the county board chair and the county board members are stricken. At that point, it could theoretically be brought back at a later time after you have disposed of the motion as amended.
Stephen Ford from the State's Attorney's Office. I agree with Mr. Shepro. If the committee wants to have a discussion about we'll call them the 4 elected officials, as well as the salaries for the county board and the county board chair, then I would advise or suggest voting against the proposed amendment so you could have a discussion about all 3. If you were to vote in favor of Mr. Surgis's amendment, then what would be on the floor would just be a resolution or an ordinance dealing with the 4 elected officials: auditor, circuit clerk, coroner, recorder. So essentially, that's what Mr. Surgis's proposed amendment would do in summary.
As Mr. Ford has explained, the process would be less cumbersome if you did it that way, as opposed to throwing them out and then bringing them back for a separate discussion. This way, if you were to revert to the original amendment to discuss them separately, you could take them each in turn and vote them up or down each in turn with a fewer motions and amendments in the process.
so we would go back to Mr. Kenyon's,
I would go back and do it the way that would make most
The
sense.
easiest way.
Right.
Gonna do the same thing.
I think Mr. Kenyon's is.
Chair Gums.
Ms. Gumbs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do not believe these 2 amendments are the same. I believe one removes the discussion and the other has 3 separate discussions. I will not support this amendment. I would have supported the first one.
I believe that the mover and the seconder have removed the
I
second.
said I would have supported the first one. I will not support this one.
What is on the floor right now, please? Point of.
As I understand it, the first one is now on the floor.
Yes.
Which
Oh, For clarity, Mr. Chair, what you're voting on now is to vote, have discussion. What is being amended right now is to have discussion about the 4 elected positions. After that vote is taken, there will be no more discussion about the chair or the county board positions.
Unless we bring it back up.
That is how I understand it.
No,
Point of order. I don't
That
think we
is,
can bring
that
it
is
back up.
how it was explained.
Original amendment.
Our suggestion, Mr. Ford, my suggestion would be that since there seems to be a lot of confusion about this, if Mr. Kenyon would withdraw his motion, you could have a discussion about what you want to do and then make a new motion that hopefully will embody the consensus of the board.
Point of information, the original amendment proposed removing two aspects of this resolution to create two separate votes, and that's allowable under open.
Three separate votes, as I
Well,
understood.
to
it.
create two additional separate
Yes.
votes. So that's allowable under Open Meetings Act because they would all still fall
Yes.
within that title.
Yes, because
Right.
this is purely procedural.
Okay.
All of those items were properly published and put
Yeah.
forward for the meeting.
The original amendment was essentially
Simply
the
to
simplest path
sever-
forward.
Right, do
Yes.
it in three parts.
Dates, please.
Ms.
Uh,
Bates,
So Mr. Kenyon's amendment is on the table, and can we vote on that then?
that's what we're discussing now.
Point of order, Ms. Caius,
Not you.
wasn't there a motion after that or that?
No, they
Because it
they
couldn't do that.
withdrew that motion.
Okay,
They
So we're back to the
flip-flopped.
first.
they say they dropped that
Yes.
extra amendment or
Yeah.
didn't apply. Okay, so it is back to the original one.
Yep. I call the question.
Ms. Bates,
Hey, I call the question.
Well,
Well, you
There's
could
no
move
objection.
to call the
I would
question
like to move to
if
call
you
the
have a
question.
second.
Mr. Chair Gums.
There's no
we'll have to-
objection.
requires a vote.
is there a second?
I'll second her.
Okay, roll call
What
required.
question are we calling?
You're calling the question on the amendment by Kenyon and seconded by Surges unless you withdraw it.
3 resolutions.
Same resolution.
Yeah, the original amendment.
The question is,
I think we were on the same page as to what we're doing.
For clarity,
Mr. Ford?
Mr. Shepro.
So for clarity, is the committee looking to discuss
Yeah, he's in.
those separately, the raises or increases in compensation for the chair, for the county board, and for the elected county officers? Are you just looking to have separate discussions about each?
Yes.
Or are you looking to just separate discussions? I believe that Mr. Kenyon could withdraw his motion, and with the ordinance on the floor, you could discuss those and come to some kind of consensus, and then, amend what is on the floor in whatever way comes out of that discussion. Because right now you have one agenda title, which is the ordinance, and you will be, at the end of this, making one vote to pass along whatever ordinance comes out of this committee,
unless amended.
unless amended. So you wouldn't be churning 3 different ordinance amendments out. It would be one ordinance amendment to section 273.
Mr. Ford, thank you. Before we do anything, we either have to vote on calling the question or that motion has to be withdrawn.
Yes.
Do you withdraw your motion?
Yes.
No,
Right?
Okay, then the vote is on calling a question.
And it,
Please
point of
call-
order or point of information, it's the 2/3 vote to call the
Thirds
question.
vote.
Please call the roll.
A yes vote is to
Call the question.
A no vote is to continue debate.
Alan,
Alan, no.
You been?
The question is, but then that's on the amendment, right?
No, this is on the motion
Just
to
to
call the
the
question on the
question
amendment.
on the.
And then we'll discuss the amendment.
Yes,
all right, to call the question, Alan,
we won't discuss.
Alan, no.
Bates,
Yes.
Berman,
Berman, no.
Davis,
Davis, no.
No.
Gums,
Gums, no.
Caius,
Guys, no.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Linder. Mr. Linder? Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez present.
Linda was a no. You got that?
thank you, Mr. Linder. Strathman,
No.
Yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, no. Okay,
Does not pass.
so we are now again open to discussion on the amendment by Mr. Kenyon to remove and only speak about the 4 positions,
Hmm,
or only vote on the 4 positions.
Because separating them Three
Yeah.
different groups.
Separating the other two.
It is Mr. Kenyon's amendment as originally proposed before the series of revisions.
Okay, discussion is still open on that. Ms. Gums.
Mr. Chair Gums here. Mr., if we could have the amendment repeated out loud, and then I'll comment on that.
Burgess, do you have that?
Oh, okay.
It's Kenyon's original.
And-
So mine was simply, the intent was to strike E and F, which removes the chair and the board from this,
But that was withdrawn.
and that's been withdrawn, correct?
Okay,
So Mr. Kenyon, your intent was to,
only vote on the first four positions.
Vote on the first four people, and consider the rest of them later.
which is exactly saying the same thing
I
on,
know, we're just.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Taking a different road.
Your amendment proposed to simply strike them.
Strike them.
For follow-up,
Well,
Mr. Chair.
Now I have a question for Mr. Kenyon.
Not discuss them again.
Ms. Gums,
Thank you. I need to be extremely clear here. What the amendment is saying in front of us, if we vote to strike E and F, we will not have discussion on the county chair, and we will not have discussion on the county board.
Amendment that was withdrawn.
That is not withdrawn, that is on the floor.
No.
Well,
They reverted back to the original amendment.
and that's not what we've heard from
To
the
the
state.
original amendment.
So the original amendment is to have three separate votes
Three separate discussion. It's to sever the ordinance into
into three parts.
three parts, just like Gall and Caesar.
It'll be quicker if you
Yes.
just go in.
If that is accurate, Mr. Kenyon, you intend to have three separate conversations?
Yes.
And 3 separate votes.
so this amendment only covers the first four positions and it is accepting them as they are.
This amendment
Yeah.
severs it into three parts.
Right.
Which would presumably then be considered seriatim as you reach them.
If there are three separate votes and three separate discussions, I will support it. If there is one to sever E and F and no further discussion, I will not support that. So I need to be clear.
Not been the intent at all.
That's not the intent.
Thank you.
The intent is to discuss
All three.
all three,
Very good.
Separately.
Back to.
just separate.
Okay, are we prepared to vote on this? We are voting on the amendment to, in effect, separate.
See if you can get.
It's Mental health month.
Help, Mr. Kenyon. All right, roll call, please.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, I.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Ford,
Lord, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes, I'm voting to discuss these separately and then vote on it.
Yep. Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder. Mr. Linder. Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Step yes.
It passes.
All right,
Discussion on this motion.
Motion.
no, now we have discussion on the motion
As amended. As amended.
as amended.
Well, no, it just passed. The amendment just passed.
The amendment passed. The
The
main
amendment-
motion is on the
All
floor.
right. Well, having passed the amendment, you have now broken the original ordinance into potentially the three subject matters.
So we
So-
now vote on the ordinance in relationship to these four positions.
No.
One of the three and discuss that.
Yeah.
I move that. we
I
discuss
defer to
salaries
Mr.
for
Ford.
the- What is? Other elected. Yes. The
You
clerk,
want a new motion? Steve?
auditor and the,
Yeah. It-
coroner. We discussed their salary.
Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here's what I'll recommend. The committee has made the decision to consider, we'll call them the three separate compensation increases separately. Okay, and the committee's made the decision to vote on each one separately. Okay. Once you are done with that, I would recommend a motion to amend based off what you've decided during your discussions of each three to make sure that we have one clear ordinance that specifies the will of this committee that is passed along to the county board. So for each one, for county board, county chair, and the four, you discuss these separately. You can do a straw vote. You can vote to decide what you want. And then ultimately, I would suggest the motion to amend to get everything in the exact way you want. So when the county board considers this next, they have the final version from this committee. Okay, so I think you can proceed as you are, but ultimately we will have to get something in final form.
That being the case, then let's have a discussion on the county board chair. Mr. Sturgis.
I was going in a different order.
Okay.
Can we do the elected officials?
Yes.
My conversation, is a question. When we did this several years ago, we broke it into those officials that were up then and the officials that were coming up now. Are we mimicking that to the T?
I believe we're doing whatever we want to do.
No, I mean, no, we set out a task at that time to equalize them and said we would kind of kick the can down the road because they weren't up for election. They are now.
Okay.
So are
Referring
we
to the-
equalizing that as we intended to?
I think that's up to the board,
No, but
up to the committee.
The
to
question,
recommend.
Mr. Surgis's question, I think, was the other elected officials, the clerk, the
The county clerk and the treasurer were
Treasurer and
treated
so
and
forth
they were
were,
put on the same pay scale.
they were, yes, but the point being is that they were considered separately because they are elected in a different cycle.
Are we my specific question is our actions today matching what we did for them, or are we bettering or lessening what we did for the other ones? Matching? The intent is the match. I believe the intent is the
Mr.
match.
Chair Gums, I believe Mr. Surgis is asking a historical question about what the intent was in 22. I recall that conversation, and yes, we are matching what we said we would do in 22, although we are a different board. That was my understanding in 22, and I will go forward with that as well.
Could we put the slide up again, please? I
Of the
think-
salaries?
Yeah, I think that will answer these questions.
Mavis, I don't know what they were paid then, so I don't know how to mimic it now.
Ms. Molina.
Thank you, Chairman, Tepe. Just to try to help Mr. Surges out, we would be increasing the salaries of these four positions. They would be at a higher rate than the two positions we increased 2 years ago. So they wouldn't be equal in the next 4 years.
Do you know what those are?
Yeah,
100,
so
105.
so right now, the salary of the treasurer for 2024 is 109,000. The salary of the county clerk in 2004 is 109,000. So in 2025, those would both be raised to 111,426.
So my question, Mr. Chair and Ms. Molina, if you can help me with this. When we did these at 109 or whatever they were, I'm assuming that they had an escalator in them.
That's what they,
That's what she's
111.
talking
And so we're just trying, is this the best we can come to match? I mean, is that the spirit and intent here? Is what we're doing today is the match where they're at now?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think the numbers that are being proposed today, Cliff, came from like the advisory committee work that I think when they started, they really didn't have a lot of this background information to work with. So they just kind of came up with a number that seemed appropriate based on that limited information. I think the best route forward is to match what we did in 2022.
Absolutely.
So I would like to move to make an amendment to match what we did in 2022 in this ordinance right now.
Gums will
I'd ask for a
second.
second.
Gums will second.
Absolutely.
Can you please spell that out?
I'm afraid you're gonna have to be more specific than that,
Oh.
okay?
Well, it's right here on the screen. So we would be matching what they did, which was to start at 105,000. And then what is that? A 2% increase per year for 3 years, it looks like.
Or are you suggesting to start at 109,242?
Yeah, that.
No, because
They're
that's
at.
that's reflective of 2 years later in the process. So after twenty twenty-five, they'll be capped out. And the ones we're voting on today will be capped out in like 4 years from now, 3 years from now. So
Hey, again, it's not a matter of being capped out. It is that you cannot increase an elected individual's compensation beyond the length of their term. Okay?
okay, so that's what I'm proposing, that we match what we did in 2022.
That's exactly, yes.
At 105?
Yeah, start it there and then it goes up and then they all end up at the same amount.
I withdraw my I withdraw my
Yeah,
second
my-
on that. I don't agree.
No.
End up at the same.
I would catch them up to where they are now.
Well, they won't be at the same place at the same time. No.
If we start.
Hold on, please,
Sorry. Thank you.
please.
I think the spirit of what is in this resolution already written is in our agenda is to start at 110 and then do the same thing with this incremental bumps of 3%.
But then they'll be high.
Because these guys are.
Yes, sir.
If we start.
It seems to me
Microphone.
to be fair,
2 years.
we would have to start at 111,246 for 12,125 to be comparable to where the others are at that point in time.
Because
We're trying
they
to
kick in January.
Yeah, December.
brings them all to the same dollar amount.
That's. Yeah.
All right, as chair,
Not
I'm,
I'll change my amendment.
as chair, I'm going to suggest that perhaps you might want to consider starting at 110 with a 2% increase. That would in effect equalize it.
Mr. Chair, I think in the spirit of what you're saying, Davis here,
Mr. Davis, thank you.
go to the point where the previous countywide elections are now,
Sorry.
109,
109, 242.
42. That's your starting point for this current batch.
Yeah.
And then you apply the 2% increase to that for whatever number of years are left in this whole scenario. So that everybody ends up at exactly the same dollar amount with the increases ending at the exact same time.
So that's the amendment that I want to make.
Bevan, I would second.
I understand that.
2%, 109, 242%.
Match every.
Matchy.
If that's what Jared is making a motion
Okay,
for,
so
I'll
that's
second.
Jared's motion.
I'll second that.
Your second, well, okay,
She threw it back in.
I threw it back in.
okay,
At- With that correction,
okay.
to your point,
We
Mr.
have a
Chair.
motion and a second for these 4 positions. Any discussion, any further discussion?
Question.
Debates.
So are we changing our mind from 3% to 2%? That's a big deal.
That's match.
We're matching it.
Yes.
matching them.
Everybody will be on the same place at the same time
Yeah.
with this amendment.
Yeah.
It's an effort in equity, right? We're trying to get. even playing
At least parity.
A noble effort.
It's better. Okay, roll call on the amendment.
Is there a straw poll or is this?
I don't see any hands up, so we're in good shape.
Lynn?
Alan, would you mind just saying it one more time for clarity?
I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Miss Allen.
Mr. Davis could repeat. Yeah.
The amendment is to establish the salaries for the 4 countywide electeds whose terms expire in this cycle, would be set at $109,242 effective with the commencement of the new term with a 2% annual increase for the next 3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and as a point of order, that will, it will not be a 2% increase. That increase will be calculated to an exact dollar amount, just so you know, in the final resolution.
Well, 2%, yes.
Okay, so that's what we're voting on, Miss Allen.
Thanks so much. Alan, aye.
Bates,
Bates, aye.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, no.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis,
Yes.
Pepe.
Pepe, yes.
Passes with 2 noes.
Mr. Surges?
Sure. I have nothing else to move, sir.
See, I would like to move a discussion and a conversation for the county board seats to increase their salary. At, what was it, $30,000? Starting, what is it, December 2nd of 2026?
26. Yeah, she's.
26, yes.
Said that.
It's not,
So I would move that for discussion.
8 seconds.
Okay, discussion.
Gums, I'll say something. I like to be consistent, so I'm going to continue to do so. I find value in the county board structure. I believe that the position itself, not having had an increase for a very long time, is deserving so of one. Might not be popular, but neither is raising revenue, and I will consistently be that person. I make no apologies for it either. We do not have an administrator down governing system. We have a committee structure system. The heavy lifting is done by the county board members. And should be done by the county board members. So I will vote to support this $5,000 increase starting in 2026.
Ms.
Bates?
Bates, go ahead.
Okay, Mavis Bates. I think this board has consistently done our best job we could to show respect for the employees of Kane County, and we are employees of Kane County. So I think this is consistent with everything else we've done to try to take care of our employees. And it opens up possibly some opportunities for people who are not independently wealthy or independently middle class to come onto this board. So I will also be supporting this increase for the board.
Ms. Combs?
Just a follow up to that. Thank you, Ms. Bates, for bringing it up. It had been previously discussed that people who run for office know how much they're getting paid when they run for office. And I would submit to you that an elitist government knows we're excluding people from the governing process with poor salaries. So an independently wealthy individual can run and engage in governing. Somebody who owns their own business can engage in governing. Somebody who has a job where they are allowed to leave their company and go to meetings can engage in governing. Single dad, a single mom will not be able to engage in governing. So by default, you are excluding an entire demographic of the governing process because people say, I can't afford to run for office. I think that's a valid statement, and it is public service, but it does not have no value.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would just like to also add to what Mr. Cummins just said. Retired people are people who can run for such a low salary. But I think it keeps the demographic the same when we don't consult, like she said, people who have other classifications in their jobs or their availability. And I think we need to represent as best we can all the people of King County. And I think this is a step towards doing that. So I will be supporting this.
Okay, any further discussion?
This is Alan.
Ms. Allen?
Ms. Gums, I have to say you have changed my mind. I have steadfastly thought that we are part-timers who want to put in time in public service, and there's no way of knowing how much time any particular person will put in. But having seen this board work so hard, this has been, in my long experience, the most diligent, most consistent across the face of the board, a group of people I have ever had the honor of working with. So this may never affect me, but I am going to vote for it now. Thanks for the input.
Thank you, Ms.
Chair
Molina.
Linder.
Chairman Tepe, thank you. First, it just had a point of order. Your first amendment was, we voted on just the amendment, but not on not on the full motion. Just making sure. Are we doing separate amendments and then voting on everything together? Because I don't think there was a motion. I don't think there was a motion to approve after the amendment was passed the first time.
As I understand it, that is correct.
Okay. And speaking on this, I guess I'll speak on my own behalf as a single mother, as someone who's had the opportunity to, to be on this board for a number of years. I really don't think $5,000 would make a difference to any of us here. I don't think we decided to be on this board for the money. We have a really great benefit package as well that I think should be discussed. So I'll be voting against it. I don't think that we deserve the extra 5,000 as elected public officials. I think that money is better spent for our employees and making sure that their salaries are equitable so that they can raise their families. I don't think that it's really stopping anyone from running for public office for this for these committees. One thing I would like to maybe talk about is, instead of having these committees during the day, maybe changing them to the afternoon so that people who do have full-time jobs don't have to work around their schedules and take vacation time like some of us do to make it to these morning meetings.
Yeah, at present, we're discussing the chairperson's salary.
Yeah.
No, the county board.
County board salary.
Hey.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Ford has his hand up.
Holy Christ.
Mr. Linder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm having trouble unmuting my phone here. I want to pile on here, and no offense to any of my colleagues here. And as someone who's about to turn 75 in a few weeks, this board skews towards the older who are either more established in their jobs or professions or who are retired. And I don't think that government should be totally ruled by old people. I'd like to see some younger people in here. And if we can, the extra $5,000 isn't going to do it, but if we could do that over a course of, a couple of election cycles and get it up to the point that someone could afford to run for the board, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to vote for this just as a way to start a process that makes it affordable.
Okay, Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do hear what all of my colleagues are saying. One is that we've talked before about we have employees who are underpaid to the point where we don't think that they can actually live within King County. So I really would like to see them go first too. If we were to do this, I don't think it needs to be all at one time. It should be sectioned out. And we have stopped from hiring employees and increasing salaries that their directors feel is comfortable for them to be hired by the county, whose salaries are not being paid by the general budget, but paid by grants, because we say we don't have the money. So how can we say we don't have the money, but yet this is a step that we're taking?
Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Thumbs?
Here, just one final comment, and I'll wrap it up with that. I would like to just identify that I've been consistent in all my votes since I have been elected to increase salaries for our employees, increase our revenue, voted against the budget. I'm trying to be consistent here, and for historical value, or not historical value, but for comparison, as much as it might be odd to some people, I spent 20 years of my life working the afternoon shift, and there are thousands and thousands of people that work the afternoon shift as it pertains to meetings. So that's relevant as well.
All right, so I believe the amendment we're voting on is to increase the board member salary from $25,000 to $30,000 effective December 1, 2026. Is that correct?
What does the draft ordinance on the agenda say? Doesn't it say 30,000?
It says 30 with increases.
With the increase of 3%?
So the,
No increases?
With
I
no
thought it was
increase.
increases.
Yeah.
the version that was in the packet, which is on the floor, provides for effective December 2nd, 2024, 25,000. Effective December 1st, 2025, 25,000. Then the next year, it would go to 30,000 and then 30,000 after. So
So
it-
really, this amendment
Increase.
is
And
redundant
it's redundant.
at
but
this
let's-
point.
the committee's making an understanding that they want to proceed with what was
Okay.
in the agenda packet.
Please.
Gotcha.
Are we voting on an amendment?
Sort of.
Jesus Christ.
Sort of.
Okay, on a sort of amendment. Alan,
Alan, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis. Ford. Gums,
yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges.
Nope.
Tepe.
Except a yes.
Is with 4 noes.
Okay, then the last item to discuss is
Oh,
the
sorry.
You have two.
motion.
Oh, no, you're right. Sorry.
Vote.
What was the vote? How many noes?
4 noes, 1, 2, 3,
Yes.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 yeses.
11 yeses, 4 noes. Now the discussion is for the county board chair.
Sanchez moves. We need a motion, or are we just discussing?
Wait a minute.
I was going to make a motion.
Okay,
Okay, I think I can move this without as a motion and not as an amendment. I would like to move that the chairman of the board, county board salary be set at $109,242 with a proposed 2% increase every year.
I'd like to second.
for the next 3 years, okay?
That really would need to be at this point an amendment because the
That's an am-
other items are on the floor.
I'd like to make an amendment. Do we need to motion the motion?
So
and
you,
then
you,
amend-
you need, you're making an amendment.
Making an
okay?
amendment?
For
that
how many
the-
years?
Seconded by Ms. Strath.
That the blah, blah,
That in effect, the county board chair be paid the same as
directors.
the other 4
Mhm.
elected
Elected
officials.
officials.
Okay, any discussion?
Is there a second?
Oh, yes, Ms. Strath.
Strathman.
Any discussion? Mr. Sanchez.
Yeah, I have some issues with this. Again, just looking at the office, I listened to some of the conversation at the advisory committee, the first one. And, a lot of the discussion centered around the fact that people perceive the county board chair to be some type of administrator. And it's kind of like an implied situation. It's not in the county code. I'm firmly against the idea of electing an administrator for the county. So I don't look at the county board chair as a quasi administrator, even though sometimes they act that way. They, do what they can, I think, in that regard, but we're not electing chairman at large because they have a skill set that allows them to be efficient administrators of a county of over 500,000 people. So I'm personally in favor of not raising the county board chair salary at all, leaving it where it is. I think that's very sufficient. Because I also think that we as a county should be moving in the direction of having an administrator, which would create a situation where the county board chairman does not need that much of a salary. We have other counties, they have administrators. The county board chair can be elected from among the people like we do at the Forest Preserve District. It's a very efficient, well-run system. I think it works. And I'd like to see the county go in that direction. So I'm personally against any increase for the chair's position.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Molina?
Thank you, Chairman Tepe. Sorry, I wish I could be there to discuss with you guys in person. I'm also against raising this salary. I think when we look long-term at where we want our county to be, if we do want an administrator in the past, in the future, that I would be in favor actually of lowering the salary of the county board chair. I think a lot of the duties, like Mr. Sanchez said, are kind of implied. We haven't really looked at exactly what the role of the county board chair should be. I think that's a conversation for the future. So at this point, I wouldn't want to move forward with any increases in the next 4 years because I see this position evolving within that period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Strathman?
Ms. Strathman here. I do not see.
Hold on a minute. Can I please ask you to please refrain from clapping and things of that nature and let us politely complete our business. Thank you.
Thank you,
Ms.
Mr.
Strathman.
Chairman. I don't think these two situations are mutually exclusive. I think I do support the equalizing the compensation for the the position of the chair. It's not about the person, it's about the position. And I think it should be equal with the other electeds that we just increased. I do think the county is in need of an administrator, but I don't think that those are exclusive from each other. I think we can do both.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gums?
Mr. Chair, Gums here. I concur with Mr. Sanchez on this, actually. Again, I pointed out earlier that our structure of government is through our committees. The heavy lifting is done by the board members. I will just say this, that historically, we've had a chair in the last several administrations that have taken the duties as, like he's indicated, as a quasi administrator, but we don't have that kind of government here. I will not support an increase for the chair position based on, I'm a black and white kind of person. The duties of the county chair are what the county board directs that person to do. We are doing the lifting. I believe fundamentally that that's just fair. I understand the history there and how things had been done previously. That is not how we govern now.
Thank you. Any more comments? All right,
Alan?
let's have a
Alan, Mr. Chairman.
Miss Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to weigh in to say that if any of us who have put together a conference, a house walk, a gathering, a reunion, there has to be a point person. We do the heavy lifting. I agree, Ms. Gums, but there still has to be someone who is there in an office that people can come to, pretty much like a 40-hour week, a point person who kind of ties us all together. And if we buy a $250,000 administrator, that might change, but that would also change the way we work, because then the administrator would be telling the committees how to run themselves. So I see the chairman elected countywide as the point person who helps steer our way. And I'm certainly not going to suggest that we go to 130,000, but I think it's appropriate for the chairperson to make a little more than the other electeds, because as I said in the memo, the chairperson is going to be the face of the county in lots of circumstances. I'm thinking CMAP conferences. And there are better examples than that. But if we were going to change the chairman, I would say go to 115. I think that's something that would show respect for that office and would not overburden our thoughts here about how to compensate our elected people. Thanks for letting me vent.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
The motion again?
This will be a roll call on the amendment to have the county board chair be paid
$109,242 with
effective December 1 with a 2% increase for the next 3 years. Okay,
Mr. Tepe, Chair, does that represent an increase or level?
Increase.
an increase, it's this,
Well, currently it's what, 100?
currently it's 105, so it's an
105.
increase. Okay. Roll call, please.
Allen,
Allen, no.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, no.
Ford,
Ford, no.
Gums,
Gums, no.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, no.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges,
No.
Tuppy.
Yes.
Fails.
Fails 6-8.
I,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, 7. You're correct.
7 yes and 8 no.
7 yes, 8 no.
Yes.
Okay.
Put our agenda back
Who's
up.
next on the, which one do you want?
Just did 'em all.
For the agenda?
Yeah.
Point of information, Mr. Chair, State's Attorney, having had this amendment fail, we fall back to the chair's position of, as it's stated in here, I believe,
Of 100
130,000 plus 2%.
Right.
So,
No,
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 it
was
failed.
defeated.
no, you just voted no.
So I'd like to make the amendment then to leave the county board chairman salary the same.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Mr. Chairman. I'm
Strathman?
not sure, yes, Strathman here. What would a yes vote mean and what would a no vote mean on this?
A yes vote would mean to keep the county board chair's compensation at $105,328,
Which is what it is currently.
what it is right now.
Effectively,
no
it
would
would
be-
reduce the number in the draft ordinance.
I'm sorry?
It would,
Yes vote, if it passes, would reduce the number that is currently in the draft ordinance to
What it is currently.
what it is currently.
And if I vote no,
then we'll be back to discussion.
Right.
Goes to the original proposal in the ordinance,
130.
130.
okay.
Who seconded?
What?
Who seconded? Surges, thank you.
See no hands up. Okay. Let's have a vote on the amendment.
Allen,
Allen, no.
Bates,
Bates, no.
Berman,
Berman, no.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford. He's not there. Okay. Wait. Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Caius, no.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Linder,
Linder, no.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
No.
Surges,
Yes.
Tuppy,
No.
and Mr. Ford, I see you back. Want to vote?
I'm sorry, you gotta tell me exactly. Yes.
Keeping their,
The vote is on an amendment to establish the county board chair's salary at the same level that it is today, which is $105,328.
It lost.
It fails.
So it goes to 130.
So now we're at 130. Does anybody want to propose another number?
it failed
Way in
7-8.
between.
Okay. Oh, she failed.
Isn't it bad?
I'm sorry. Please wait till you're recognized so that we can know who's speaking, okay?
Mr. Chairman Allen,
Miss Allen,
may I propose a salary for the chairman at $115,000 with
It's not gonna pass.
2% increase for the next 3 years, which I understand will be turned into real numbers.
Add 2, 8 to 7. So you just kick it
okay?
to the full
Is there a second to the motion?
Oh,
Are you gonna be here all day?
Okay, that fails for a second.
But Madam Base, did you say 121?
I said 1,007,121, which was
Splits
halfway,
the difference.
halfway between what I proposed before and.
Where it won and where it lost.
1,005.
I would second.
1,007,
I'm sorry, may I have the number?
1,007,121.
10,
That's halfway, right? Between 105 and 109, be 107, 121.
1,007, 121 plus a 2% increase?
Sure, yes.
You ought to just kick this to the board.
Okay. Are you, is that your second?
I had a second.
Okay,
Does that have increases in it as well?
yes.
Yeah, definitely a no.
Caius.
Mr. Caius.
Caius for expedience.
Okay, any discussion?
Mr.
Going
Chairman
once, going
Allen,
twice.
Mr. Chairman Allen,
Oh, Miss Allen,
I think I'd like to go back to Ms. Bates' original suggestion and change my vote.
too late, sorry.
Fine.
Sorry, but that's vote's already been recorded.
That ship is sailed.
You can vote on
Well-
this one, though.
Okay, no more discussion. We're voting on increasing the salary to $107,121 plus a 2% increase for the next 3 years.
That's funny.
As to what that exact number is, we would have that in the ordinance. Okay?
Allen,
Allen, no.
Berman,
Berman, no.
Davis,
Davis, no.
Ford,
Or no.
Gums,
Gums, no.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon, Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Linder,
Linder, no.
Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, no.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis,
No.
Tepe.
Yes.
Fails.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sanchez.
I have a,
Well, sorry, but the amendment failed by a vote of
4 to 11.
4 to
4
11.
yeses, 11 no.
Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a suggestion, just in the interest of time and understanding this is a smaller body than the full board, which is ready to come fill in the ranks here. My suggestion would be just to pass this as it is right now and let the county board continue this conversation.
Save time.
At 1:30? 1:30.
It's at 1:30, but we can amend it as the county board and let everybody have their vote on this. I mean, we're just kind of spinning our wheels here.
I do have a question of clarity then. If we're passing, what are we passing right now? Are we include?
130.
Passing it at
Oh, no,
130,000.
No, that's not my question. I apologize. For clarity, the main vote that we are taking does not include what we've just amended.
Yes.
So
The
we are,
ordinance- Right now, the ordinance has. been
Microphone, please.
amended. The ordinance has been amended with respect to the original language with respect to the 4 countywide electeds. It has been basically ratified with respect to the county board increases and remains unchanged as the county board chair.
so the vote, for clarity, the vote would include the 4 county increases, the county board 30,000 and the county chair at 130,000.
That would be my understanding, yes.
Okay, that's all I needed to
I'd like to
know. Thank
propose
you.
an amendment that we move the county board chair up to 106,000 even with no increases over time.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Please wait to be recognized, okay? Mr. Sanchez.
I'd like to propose an amendment that we increase the county board chairman's salary to $106,000 even with no percentage increases.
Seconded by Mr. Kenyon. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Ms.
Uh,
Strathman.
Would you ask Mr. Sanchez where he got that number?
Mr. Sanchez?
I'm looking at where it is currently and I like round numbers. So to give her some increase, because it seems there is some interest on this body to give an increase, this would appeal to those members perhaps. And then also to myself that likes round numbers.
Point of correction, this is not giving a person an increase. This is increasing the rate for the position.
Position of the
We need to
county
keep
chair.
that into effect because it will be whoever wins the election and takes office effective December.
I hear
That
no
is a given.
second. Mr. Chair,
Oh.
I hear no second.
Kenyon.
Kenyon second.
Kenyon seconded.
Procedural question for our state's attorney, one of them. Since we've taken this resolution or ordinance and broken it down into three parts, the point was made that this is the kind of thing that the full body should vote on. Are we able to take this one segment for the county board chair's pay and table that
No.
to be picked up again by the full board so that you can just have the full board vote on it and be done?
They can change it then.
I would say no at this point because you have all been making amendments to the overall ordinance. You agreed to discuss it in three parts,
We did.
and some have been amended and some have not been amended. But at some point,
So once
as
we've
was
separated
pointed out,
them, tabling a portion
this
is not one of
committee
the
needs
options.
to be discharged of this and move it on to the full board.
Well, that was my hope, was that the tabling of this single item of the three would send it directly to the full board, where in fact a
No.
vote could
Not
take
tabling.
place of, of everybody.
The
But
amendment were tabled, then you would then vote on the full ordinance as already amended, which is, to my recollection now, the only amendment that has passed has been the change in the 4 elected countywides.
And the full board.
Otherwise, there was no need to amend it with respect to the 30,000, and the various amendments proposed with respect to the board chair have all been voted down.
Mr. State's Attorney, voting for this would then pass it on to the full board if we
Voting
did this
for
106?
this, for Mr. Sanchez's amendment would change the number to 106. And then if that were to pass, or if it were to fail, could then vote on sending the ordinance as amended to the county board.
Well, before you go back to as amended, if we pass this, that would then put 106 in there, give it to
Place
the
of
full
130.
board to then to discuss it, which would accomplish whatever everybody it really wants to do, or half of us want to do anyway, which is send it to the full board.
Correct.
So this isn't the final. We're just
No,
sending off to
you
the
could
next stage.
replicate this
So
entire
if we all
discussion.
voted yes, or a majority of us voted yes, we could pass it on to the
Ms.
full
Gums.
board.
Thank you. So, we have 106,000 on the table. Amendment, I would call the question.
With no objection, we can vote.
No objection? With no objection, we'll do a roll call on the amendment to set the county board chair salary at 106,000.
Allen,
Alan, no.
What?
Bates,
What did she say?
No.
No.
Bates, no. Berman,
No.
Davis,
for the purpose of saying no later, I'll say yes now.
Ford,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Kenyon, Lewis,
Was yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges,
No.
Tepe.
No.
Passes by one.
Now we can get
Seven.
out of here. Let's
Says
vote on the
seven,
main
it
motion.
passes.
Okay,
Vote on the main motion.
8 which way?
8 yeses, 7 nos.
All right. So now you have 2 amendments to the pending ordinance. And so it has been amended twice.
So this next, Mr. Chair Gums. Mr. Chair Gums.
Ms. Gomes.
Clarity, this next vote will be as amended to include the county, 4 elected counties, 209, 242 and some change, as well as the county board chair to 106, as well as the county board to 30 in 2026.
I believe I have corrected the slide above or notated on the slide above that's being displayed now. What has been amended so that the 4 elected officials, the first 4 elected officials start at 109,242 plus 2%.
Yeah, correct the coroner.
Yeah, coroner is also at 3%.
Correct.
Okay, and that county board chair is at 106. And the board members would be at $30,000 effective 12/1/2026. Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll go quick and I promise, I think this is the simplest way to do it. I can go ahead and I can read in the spots quickly where the changes should be made. I would suggest that the committee takes, a committee member makes a motion to amend to basically adopt what you've decided throughout this process, which would be making those changes. You vote and then do a motion to vote as amended. That way we're clear that you've accepted all of the amendments in one form, and then you voted to send the ordinance as amended to the county board, and then we have a clean final version for the county board.
What I was going to do, Mr. Ford, was to call upon us to vote on the motion as amended.
I would still suggest having someone make a motion to amend to encompass the various votes you've taken, just so the record's clear that you've reached a collective decision, because I think for parliamentary reasons, that's the cleanest way to do it. Just 2 quick votes.
Okay, so,
Sanchez, second.
One quick vote.
okay, a motion to amend based upon the numbers that are here, which is
Yes.
for the first 4 positions, 109,242 plus 2% increase over 3 years. County board chair at 106,000 and the board members to be 30,000 effective December 1, 2026. May I have a motion to amend the ordinance to this amount?
Ches moves.
Bates
Ches
second.
moves. Ms. Bates, second. Any discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Hello?
Allen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
It's yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, no.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Split 2
Now-
nos.
Now may I have a final motion to accept the ordinance as amended?
Linder moves.
Strathman
Linder
seconds.
moves, Strathman seconds. I see no questions.
I'm sorry,
Roll
I have
call.
a point of order.
Main
We
motion.
already have that. You're moving, aren't you?
I
It's already-
understand that, but this is how Mr. Ford requested it be done.
Yes, you had a motion to amend. You have to vote on the final version. You voted to accept the amendments, which you just did.
Uh-huh.
Now you're voting on the original main motion as amended. So you still need to vote on this.
Well, we need to vote on it, but we just said for another resolution, didn't you?
So this is just kind of popping the stack,
Okay, right. I'm not confused.
Did you say tapping or popping?
popping.
I understand your confusion, but let's do it the way Mr. Ford wants, and then we'll deal with him later. Oh,
Quarters in a sock I could use on that.
that one. Okay, roll call, please.
Who was the motion and second, please?
It's the original motion and.
No, Mr. Sanchez
And
made the
Bates.
motion, I believe, and Ms. Strathman second.
Oh, okay.
This is finalizing everything and we're done for this meeting,
Go on.
unless you want to go into
Okay.
executive session.
All right, voting on the ordinance as amended. Allen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Bias, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, no.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes with one no.
Did we want to go into executive session?
No.
Thank you.
No reports. Mr. Kenyon.
We adjourn. This has been very painful.
Have a second.
That, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll have a 5 to 10 minute break for the full board meeting.